Remix video is about remixing the stories that make up our world, right? Where we live off of stories. We understand the world based on stories, based on narratives. We understand our place in it and the connections between things based on stories. You know, people more and more are taking those stories and saying, this is a story that was given to me, you know, on the TV or in the movies or on the radio, and it's not quite what I want. It doesn't work for me. So I'm going to change that story a little bit. I'm going to add something to it. I'm going to take something away from it. I'm going to create a new narrative based on what I'm missing in the world. And I actually think that kind of thing has mass appeal. I mean, people who know the original source then are really interested in this alternative version of that source. For me, remix video is much more accessible and much more populist and much more participatory than video art has been traditionally. And in that way, I think it's much more important, much more relevant, and says much more. Because really, what is art but a communication tool? You know, if you've got video artists who are intending their work to be seen by other artists, by gallery owners, or by people who are interested in high art or academic art or art theory, that's a very small sort of elite group of people who might sit through a long, kind of boring, strange, experimental video piece. Whereas the political remixers or the remix video artists, for the most part, on most of their work is on the internet right now. But even before the internet, this work was meant for a general audience. For me, the question of, you know, is the world functioning in a remix way, is a given. Yes, of course. You know, I think it has been for a long time. I mean, you can look at Star Wars and say, you know, Star Wars has almost taken shot for shot from Japanese films, you know, of a decade or 2 decades earlier. You know, so for me, that's just a given. That's just yes, of course. And what the question for me that I think is most interesting, the question for me is, remix is a tool. It's a medium. And the question is, what do you do with that medium? What are you trying to say? Are you challenging traditional power structures? Are you challenging stereotypical notions about gender or sexuality or class or race? You know, are you challenging government or corporate institutions through your remix work in some way? It could be funny, it could be interesting, it could be entertaining, but you know, what is that sort of subversive message? You know, what are the ethics of remix? Because you're appropriating someone else's media, right? You're appropriating some other story that was made by someone else or a group of people or a corporation or whatever. And the way that I think about it, when I think about this question, I think about what is it that I'm remixing, right? Where did it come from? Is it something that came from a corporation or a government, a powerful institution, or not? You know, where am I in the system of power, right? And then where is the thing I'm remixing? Is it above me? Is it below me? I think that you have to be very aware of the power relations of what you're remixing. You know, so I encourage people to take corporate media. I encourage people to take movies and TV shows, politicians especially, and do what they want with it, because those people are figures of power. They are, and they often their messages are messages of power. But if you're looking down on the social sphere and you find someone who's relatively powerless, and then you remix and make fun of them, that for me crosses the line. Now that's my line. The fact that Google has become, that Google and YouTube have become so corporate and have built in this system, this automated copyright system, makes it difficult often. I mean, I would say that maybe 10 or 15% of all the remixes that I've posted on my blog from other people are gone. Many of the playlists that I have created of my favorite remix videos, it has holes in it, right? This is why I say that because of the way that YouTube is set up, it creates holes in the internet, right? You go to a blog post and you want to see the video and it talks about the video, and you click play and it says, I'm sorry, blocked for content copyright reasons. You know, even when it's clearly a transformed work, even when it's clearly fair use, it's gone because the robot on the other side doesn't know the difference. You know, there's no people looking at this and saying, yes, this is fair use. Yes, you should be able to transform. The system matters. The system that we share with matters. And YouTube is great because it reaches an enormous amount of people, you know, way more people than you could ever hope to reach just by putting it on your own website. And it also has a community involved, right? So you meet other people who are doing things that are similar to you, and you support each other, and you subscribe, and you comment, right? All that stuff is great and important. And for me, what I wish was that YouTube was a public space. That doesn't really exist on the internet, public space. But I wish YouTube was, because it's that valuable, right? If it's going to be a public square, if we're going to talk about YouTube and the internet as a public square, but it's not public, it's private. This is a critical moment where we have to say, look, this is not only important and legal, but also a critical part of communication. Just sort of the human right of communication is to be able to use the audiovisual language, the audiovisual culture to communicate with each other. And so in that way, I think it's even much deeper than what is traditionally thought of as art. It's human communication.